Driver, start. Wait. Anyway, driver, start your engines.
You are now listening to the fastest show on IE Sports Radio. My name is Darryl Kinsey Jr. I'm welcoming you to taking another lap of the extra mile for today, July 25th, 2019. I think this is the most excited I've been before a NASCAR race weekend I have ever been, because I'm going to be in the media center this entire weekend at the Pocono Raceway. I cannot wait. I've got my bags packed. I've got my notes here next to me. I am ready to get to the NASCAR garage and see how this race is going to pan out. They got the PJ1 all over the racetrack. Hopefully it creates some good racing, but either way, this is probably going to be the best race ever for me because I'm covering it. But before I go on too long about that, I want to welcome in my co-hosts, Michael Ward, Caitlin Seaman, and Lolita Camello.
Hello, everyone.
Let the echoes begin. I can't even talk because I'm listening to myself.
Hello? Echo. My name is Oh.
I really like the falsetto that went along with that.
I'm not sure what that falsetto is supposed to be, but okay, Michael. And this is actually the first time we've been on, and Michael hasn't ninja'd in at the start in a little while. So, hello, Michael.
Hey, how you doing?
The downfall is he didn't come in while I was saying something that could be construed as inappropriate, because that's usually how that happens.
Yeah, that has been the running theme over the past couple of weeks.
It's kind of enjoyable. No, just me? Okay.
I think some people do find enjoyment out of embarrassing others. You just might be one of those people.
I mean, I'm kind of one of those people too. I just didn't want to chime in, but for Caitlin's sake.
I mean, I admit it for my sake.
Okay.
It's always for your sake, Caitlin.
Always. That is a theme.
So I'm going to move us from
Caitlin's
this topic.
sake.
I'm going to move us from this topic and move right along.
Caitlin's sake.
So I'm kind of excited because the last couple of weeks, or the last couple of months, really, everyone at the show, on the show, has really been able to go out and cover things and have some fun with racing. You know, Caitlin and Lita met up at the Indy 500 back in May, and then Lita went to Detroit and also got to cover the Formula E final. And I've been running around
New York.
And I've been running around Hagerstown Speedway pretty much since April till now, and now I'm heading over to Pocono to cover my first NASCAR race. And I guess I can throw this to Lita for the question question. Is it normal to feel this nervous, the day before you go off and do something like this?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's see. The first time I ever got to do it, it was my senior editor at the time was like, "We're gonna get you back into this." Okay, so we go in, and one of the first people he introduces me to is Robin Miller. So
Nice.
no pressure, but you sit in the media center, and especially for those of us who've been following it for as long, we have all the people that we follow and like reading that give us updates about whatever series we're following. And you start to sit down and like you'll have your name in your little media spot, and you look around the media center where whatever it is, and you start to see the people that you have read their writings for years or watched the broadcasts or whatever, and you get at least for me, it almost feels like imposter syndrome. Like the first time you go, you're like, I don't know if I belong here. Like, this is crazy. Like, I'm one of them. Like, you kind of go back and forth on like, oh my God, this is legit. It's real. And then you're like, I really should be here. So it's perfectly, I still to this day get it. it's not necessarily nervous anymore. It's like anxious. Like you're really excited because one of the things that I think is great, which you should totally take advantage of in this particular situation, is just all the people that you can meet in that newsroom. Like I said, the very first time I ever stepped into a media center, I got to meet Robin Miller, and that was just ridiculously cool to me. So, you get to meet your heroes. Sometimes you get your mentors out of that, and it can always lead to good things along the way. So it's perfectly fine to be nervous. It's a big thing. It's huge. You are going to be grinning like no other. As soon as you walk in, you're going to be like, this is cool. But just, do your thing, but also take a few minutes every once in a while to enjoy and really like take in what's all happening, because you're going to want to remember it. So
I already said that it's like I'm gonna need. I was talking to my talking to my mother last week, and I said I'm glad that we're going all 3 days, because I know I'm gonna need a couple hours on Friday just to process that. Oh my goodness, I'm actually here. And my friend of mine, Shane, who's gonna be on the trip with me tomorrow, when we were sitting up in Hagerstown, he was joking, asking me, was I ready for Pocono? And I'm like, no, because like I said on Facebook, it's like, how do you get ready for your dreams to come true? Like, you go from wishing, oh, maybe one day I'll be in the media center, to, oh my goodness, I'm going to walk into the NASCAR media center. Like, it takes a while to process it. I'm still not ready, but I want to get there.
And you never will be. I don't know how to explain it. I will say it's good that you're going the 3 days, especially, have you ever been to Pocono before?
No. So this is my first time in Pocono as well.
So, like, for me, at least, the first time I did media was Detroit, and I had gone to that race since I was, like, 5. So I knew the layout really well, and it changed a little bit over the years, but basically, like, you really want to just spend some time getting to know the track and, like, where things are, and that way, for me, I always do photography and writing, which is getting more and more hard to do over the years. But that way, like, all right, at this time, they're going to have this press conference, and they're going to have qualifying, and then I can go and do this, and you kind of, like, plan it out. But you also know, like, I want to be here for this part, or I want to be here for this part. And you never stop moving, except for when you sit down to actually, like, write and do your thing. So it's a good thing. I will say, that feeling never goes away, though, necessarily. Like, even when I went to go get my credentials for Formula E in New York, which, by the way, FIA credentials, oh my God, it's harder than getting a passport, I think.
Because the funny thing is, one of our execs at work was like, hey, you should try to get the Formula One race, in COTA. And I'm like, yeah, FIA credentials may be a little bit harder to get, because I remember when we were talking, but that'll be
it's not impossible, but there's a lot of things you have to do it. So at least I know now, so I can walk you through it if you're interested. But oh my God, it was I think the final week before the cutoff on the credentials, we were still scrambling to, like, get everything that we needed in. And then the funnier part is they send you a packet that you have to download and print, and then you have to sign and have your editor sign it, or whoever's doing the assignment. And then you have to bring it to the track. So I go to hand them this. I've been trying to keep this thing pristine through, TSA, all the way on my 2 flights to New York, on the cab, through subways and stuff, to keep this whole thing pristine. And I didn't have a stapler, so I didn't staple it. And I just handed her the packet of materials, and I'm like, oh yeah, they're going to look through this. And she just goes, oh, your name? And I go, Lolita Camello. She goes, with? I was a Panorama. Oh, here you go. And it's literally an envelope with just my credential in it. And she didn't even look at the packet. I was like, what the hell am I doing this for? I could have.
So what was the point of the packet?
I think just to verify that it was you, because they only send that to you, but they didn't even look at it. So I was just like, well, all right, I guess there's that. But so anyways, aside from that, walking into that felt like the big leagues. Like, I thought the Indy 500 was, a big deal. Now you're walking into this media center was in like the U.S. Borderland Security building on the dock there. And I swear to God, it sat like 2 to 3 times the amount of people that sat for the Indy 500. And you're looking at media worldwide. And you're like, oh, okay, this is a whole other thing. But you still have that, like, this is really happening. Like, except for that point, it was, I'm getting paid to be here to do this. I've made it. So, you're still bewildered and like amazed, but you're like, I'm doing it. So, yeah. So this is just another step in that direction of your dream career. So you get a real good taste of it in the big leagues. So, and believe me, I know you were talking about minding your P's and Q's about stuff, but I mean, we're journalists. So yes, we have our vernacular to be professional, but we're also, people. So,
can I make a funny comment about reporters
Yes.
and journalism and media?
Please.
So it has to do with racing, just a different kind of racing. So the Tour de France is on right now. It ends Sunday. So I did some research and was talking about it for my show earlier today. And one of the funniest things that I ever found out was that in 1910, they had added a new mountain to like their Alpine for the tour. And it's the Tour Mollet. And it's a Pyrenees mountain. It's like literally twice as tall as the only mountain that they had like raced up before. And all of these reporters were waiting at the top of this mountain for the driver, like bicyclists, to come up. And the one guy, his name is Lazine, I think, if I remember correctly. Anyways, he's riding up there, and it's all like the back in the day media. But I just think it's funny because this proves that like literally reporters and journalists have like honest to God never changed. They shouted questions at him as he's like peaking the top of this mountain, and all he does is yell, "Vous êtes assassins," which is "you are assassins." And I just think that that's kind of fitting for reporters. Like, I was like, media in a nutshell, even in 1910. Like, let's be honest. Fun fact for you.
I kind of love that.
That's
Isn't
funny.
that kind of funny?
So let's
I
get
just
into...
want to yell that at people now. You are assassins!
I assassinate you with my words.
So be careful, Darryl. Just don't be an assassin.
I'll try not to.
That's my helpful tip for you.
Don't you want to be an assassin, technically? Because that means you're doing something productive.
I think you want to be a ninja assassin. Because then they don't see you coming.
Well,
what if
let's
I'm
just
already
hope...
a ninja assassin?
Well,
Or
let's
is
just
that a
hope I don't
common
get
assassin?
soundbite.
Oh, nope.
I'm sorry, what?
Let's hope I don't end up a soundbite because Kyle Busch is in the media center on Saturday. So
I don't think we're that big. I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be good.
So let's get into the
Also,
show.
make friends with like the crew. That always helps you get everywhere. They have all the
Okay.
best stories.
Oh, they do. Proof.
Well, I will definitely try that. So let's get into the Formula One. They didn't have a race last week, but a couple of tidbits of news. Everyone's bringing a bunch of aero updates to the German Grand Prix to try and catch up to Mercedes, but, well, Mercedes also brought their own aerodynamic upgrades, so we will see how that goes. As we know, sometimes these upgrades work, sometimes they don't. I think we're all hoping that Mercedes takes a step back with their upgrade so that we at least have a decent German Grand Prix, although I have a bad feeling they won't.
I don't know, man. They bought an anniversary livery.
I did see that the white with the peeling off to the silver, which is supposed to be actually a homage to how those cars ended up being silver in the first or silver now, is that the white paint was actually flaking off from how they were racing, and the silver looked better, and they decided to go with it. So now we have a bunch of silver arrows, and they've been dominating F1 last few years, of course, and they've been a mainstay. Mercedes has been a mainstay in racing ever since. One of the big news events coming into the German Grand Prix, however, is the fact that there's a good chance that we might not have a German Grand Prix after this year, as German officials at Hockenheim, were saying that there's a good chance that if they can't get a deal done that allows them to make a profit, they will not have the German Grand Prix going on next year, and that could see that circuit and Barcelona drop off the schedule in favor of Vietnam and the return of the Dutch GP at Zandvoort. Do you guys think there's going to be a deal to get done to keep the German Grand Prix? Because it would feel really weird of the birthplace of the automobile to not have a round of the F1 World Championship, just in my opinion.
Yeah, but it's not like sentimentality really means anything.
I think they should just...
I feel like that's a very accurate statement, though.
Oh, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Oh, for F1, they do not mind about
Money is money.
King and queen and all of the gestures.
Yeah.
I think they should just move tracks, honestly.
What, back to Nürburgring?
Yeah, just for one race.
I don't
If
know
the price is right.
I don't even know if the Nürburgring even cares at this point to come back, because they went off the schedule and have not shown any interest in returning. So I don't know if that's going to be a thing.
The Nurb.
The Nurb.
Oh, God, we're bringing this back.
If I remember correctly, they were
Seemed like a very good time. You brought it up.
If I remember correctly, they were pretty upset with Ecclestone over the terms of the agreement, or trying to get the deal done, and just said, we're not going to have the race, and I don't think they're going to have the race back, unfortunately, which is sad, because I like the Nürburgring.
Yeah, I like the Nürburgring, but, Ecclestone, he doesn't have too much of a say anymore. He's gone, hopefully.
Yeah,
what if they incorporate the Autobahn somehow? That'd be kind of cool.
I don't think they're close. I don't know German geography, so I have no idea how close those two things are, but...
Well, they can just move it to the Autobahn. It's meant for high speeds anyway, so I feel like...
Yeah, but it's not like a course. It's just...
You could make it a
track
course.
Racing.
Does this have very tight turns at either end?
So it would just be China, or Bahrain, or... Sochi or Baku, or you get my point.
You can throw in some riffs along the way. I'm just saying it'd be fun to incorporate it. I'm sure it would get more attention because everybody knows the Autobahn.
True, that might actually require a track change, however, but I want the German Grand Prix to stay, and it kind of feels weird that we don't have the European GP anymore. We had that Valencia circuit that was okay for a couple of years, and it fell apart, and it just feels like for new entities trying to get into Formula One to host races, what's the point when you're going to be out of money and not wanting to do it after a couple of years? Like, we saw what happened with Indianapolis here. And this is one of the mainstay tracks talking about they're not going to be around past this season. It's kind of sad.
Maybe they should just ask Mercedes what they think, since they're really the only ones that are doing anything. So why don't we just see where Mercedes wants to go win next?
Well, Mercedes
might be easier.
Well, it's ironic because
it's
Mercedes...
going to be easier to see them win this weekend with the white.
Yeah. Mercedes did put
really
up the money, though,
out.
to keep this race going, so that's the only reason we got back this year, but they said they are not going to do that again next year. So, and if they can't get a deal done, we will not have the German Grand Prix around anymore for the foreseeable future.
I think that'll be it. I think finances is a big part of it, too, though.
Well, everything with Formula One is expensive. And just not just expensive, uber expensive. Like,
right.
Well, here's my question. They were talking about thinking about trying to spec some of the stuff out to start reducing the cost for teams, so it doesn't cost like millions of dollars to be Mercedes. Like, do you actually think that's going to do anything for the sport, or do you think that it's going to make it, less challenging? Like, I feel like personally, you think of spec series like IndyCar and Formula E, and it's some of the best racing I've ever seen. So is that what we really need to do? And will the manufacturers still play by the rules, or even want to be there at that point if they did it?
Well, what I think is you got to do what you can in the interest of getting the sport more competitive, because standing on tradition has gotten us where there's a good chance we might not have Williams in the next 5 years. And who saw that coming? Like, tradition is great, but when the tradition is starting to actively kill the sport, you've got to make changes. And I think speccing some of the parts, or heck, even going back to where outside manufacturers that don't have factory teams can make equipment to be run in F1 again. I really want to see that come back, to be honest.
I mean, I'd be all for it. And I think, so I bring up the question because working especially in the automotive industry, you'll come across people who will be like, oh, you're into racing, and they'll mention F1. And I find it fascinating that, us as journalists, reporters, avid fans, etc., we definitely have our opinions from a professional standpoint. But I mean, when you're hearing from just your Joe Schmo fan that, like, yeah, I can't watch it anymore because I can't watch the Mercedes parade. And you hear this every time somebody brings up F1, no matter where you are, there's a big problem. Like, how many viewers are they losing at this rate? Because people don't want to tune in anymore because they're like, oh, Mercedes is just going to win. Like, it can't be doing the thing that they want so badly to get out of the sport. Like, yeah, sure, you have new people tuning in and they don't know any better, so Lewis Hamilton's a hero, but, anybody that understands racing or has been watching it for any sort of time now, they're just like, I'm over it. Like, maybe it'll get better if the engine changes, but probably not.
I know there's been
always with the definition of insanity.
I know there's been a couple of races where it's like, if I didn't have to talk about this on Thursday, I probably wouldn't put myself through this, because some of the races this year were not entertaining.
No.
In the least. And
I usually wait for somebody to tell me, yeah, no. And I'm like, okay. I don't think I've watched the last two. I'll be honest.
Well, I know I won't watch this. Well, I may watch this week if it's on in the media center. I don't know what the media center is going to be like, but if it's on in there, I'll probably watch it. But
they're usually pretty good about doing that. They've done it at every single one I've been to so far. And they'll play whatever other races are on. If that race isn't on yet.
Right. I'm saying I have a hard time. Like, it's not like I can look away from a race. If you put on a race, you put it on, I'm going to watch it.
Except for F1.
F1, it's like, okay.
Usually I'm not awake for F1. Or awake enough to comprehend
F1
life.
is like I'm doing chores around the house show, like, which is usually like shows I've watched a million times, like Friends, Parks and Rec. You can ask my boyfriend about all the shows that I put on in the background. But now F1 has become one of those things where it's like Hamilton's or Mercedes is just going to win. I'll just kind of hear what's going on. And if I hear something, I'll like perk up and I'll back it up so I can watch that part.
But let's be honest, when they didn't win, like when my darling Verstappen won, it was a hell of a race.
I didn't watch that one either. But I also don't like Max Verstappen, so I wasn't like...
my little Maximilian.
See, now you confuse me when you say that, because there's Maximilian Gunther, who races in Formula E. And so every time you say that now, I'm like, but that's Maximilian.
I know. It was kind of funny, because somebody I know had, like, listened to the show, and he, like, messaged me, and he was like, Caitlin? I was like, what? He was like, so I'm pretty sure that Max Verstappen's name isn't Maximilian. I was like, you clearly have not listened to the show long enough
to understand
at me
why
with
we're
that.
doing this.
It's
I renamed him.
It's an inside joke for those who haven't listened.
It was
But
so funny.
speaking of Gunther's, is everyone ready for their double dose of Gunther Steiner in season 2 of F1 Drive to Survive?
I'm ready for everything that Drive to Survive is going to give
Drive
us
to
because I'm
Survive is
hoping
gonna
it's
be
the
more
very
exciting
best.
than F1.
It
That's
will
where
be.
they're gonna get all their fans. Is all the people on Netflix like, ooh, I heard there's a lot of drama in this, and they're gonna watch it. And
Oh, there definitely is. My girlfriend doesn't really watch F1, but she was absolutely glued to every episode of Drive to Survive. She actually started feeling bad for Grosjean near the end of it because you can kind of tell he's not feeling it right now. But it's going to get crazy in season number 2 because it has been confirmed all 10 teams of the Formula One World Constructors Championship will be in season 2 of F1 Drive to Survive. Remember last year, Mercedes and Ferrari were not in the episodes because they thought it would be a distraction. You can't really see my air quotes. And it's funny how in season 1 they kind of talked around them because they would be like, oh, all this crazy stuff is going on in the back. And, oh, right, this happened up front while y'all were away. But all I can say is I can't wait for the Canadian Grand Prix episode. That episode is going to be lit.
I can't wait for the Austria episode.
oh yes,
Austria-
Like, I'm
Austria-
just really excited to see how they twist everything into being exciting now.
Mhm.
Like, I think it's going to be pretty prime.
Austria is going to be lit. Bahrain is going to be lit. Canada is going to be lit. Silverstone is definitely going to be a lit episode.
every episode that has anything to do with Haas is gonna be great. This is
People
the
have been
only
talking
time that I like Haas too.
I
People-
feel like
Just for
the
Drive to
entire
Survive.
Drive to Survive will be like
Can we
being
just
on those
get-
party yachts in Morocco.
Can we
Like,
please
that's
get
gonna be the
Gunther
equivalent.
Steiner his own reality show for Haas?
Everyone has
Like,
been saying
please.
that Haas needs a spin-off this season just for everything going on with Rich Energy. I cannot wait for the episodes where we have to explain, what a Rich Energy drink is. This is going to be great.
I'm
So
here
the-
for it.
Yeah, I am here for it. I know everyone's been talking about, the Rich Energy episodes are going to be lit. I hope they are.
It's
really
gonna be
hope they are.
amazing.
Well,
So-
for how, like, what they had to work with last season and how big they made it, I feel like we're giving them plenty to go off of for this season.
Mhm.
At least in the backfield.
I feel like we should have like a launch party, like viewing party for
Oh,
the
yeah.
first episode. Like maybe we do it live,
Like a
and we all
live,
watch it
yeah!
together. Just
That'd
because
be
I
so
feel like the F1 races are pain to schedule together, but at least that like we can all sit down and watch it together and
We could
just
even
enjoy.
do it in, like, a place for an episode, too.
Yeah, and just revel in the beauty that will be the nonsense of, and the most exciting part right now of F1, which is just all the shit going on behind the scenes.
And it came out during the off season, right? So it's like we could even do like a special back whatever like episode in the middle of the off season.
We could definitely
You know what I
do what is it, like 10 episodes? We could definitely do like a weekly what happened this week in Drive to Survive during the
But we
off-season.
should watch it at the same time, like hit play and just watch the episode together
Live
and get like our live
commentary.
reactions. Yeah.
I'd be down with that, but somebody's going to have to pass me their Netflix. But actually, I'll try to wrangle
I was
it
gonna say,
so
There's
that
two
we
of us
do.
here.
No, I'm saying I'll try to wrangle it so we do it at my girlfriend's house so she can watch with us. And we can get
Yeah.
her opinion as well.
Should I bring my boyfriend in too? He quite likes
You
all
should.
of the nonsense.
We
So.
might as
I could
well.
hire one if I need to.
Michael, we haven't heard from you in a while. Are you excited for
You
this?
need to be stopped, Caitlin.
There he is.
Never. Can't stop, won't stop. Oh,
That's right. Ever.
You said hire okay.
Well, I don't have one.
Some of
So,
us can do these things.
I mean, I could hire a girlfriend too. I guess take your pick. I could switch every other week if we need.
Okay.
Mike, you ask.
Hit the brakes, anti-lock brakes.
Skirt, skirt!
There are no brakes on this train,
The brakes
unfortunately.
have burst into flames. There are no brakes left. We're
Yeah.
just
Panda Express is off the rails anyway.
You think that, but I actually took them off before the race started.
Okay.
So the
it's
German
about as
Grand-
lit as a Mazda during it.
So the German Grand Prix can be seen.
And that door slamming is Michael walking out of the room.
So the German Grand Prix can be seen on Sunday at 9:05 a.m. on ESPN. Actually, 9:05 a.m. at ESPN. They'll have
What if its name was PSEN?
they'll have their
What if its
on the
name was
grid
ESPN?
segment at 8:30 at on ESPN. You
Like
actually
the
start
girl.
watching it at 7:30 on ESPN3. So we'll be right back. When we come back, we're going to get into NASCAR. We're going to save IndyCar for the end of the show. When we get back, Sunday was an exciting race, but there were some fireworks that flew on Saturday. And later in the show, the sad tale of the latter half of Marco Andretti's career took another turn during the race at Iowa, and we will explain here on the other side of this break. You are listening to The Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Two Wheels Wednesday is the place to come for all your motorcycle sports news every Wednesday on IE Sports Radio with myself, Matt White. All the latest news, rumours, race reviews and previews from World and British Superbikes and the big one, MotoGP. Two Wheels Wednesday, every Wednesday on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey USRN fans, do you have a product or company you're trying to promote? Look no further. USRN is teaming up with small local businesses trying to establish themselves via online promotion. Let us know if you're interested. Email us at usrnradio@gmail.com to learn more.
What up, all you boxing fans? This is Vince Wright, the sports governor, and me and Gilbert Batista are the host of Ringside on IE Sports Radio. Make sure you keep it tuned to IE Sports Radio, Spreaker.com for the latest edition of Ringside. All the boxing news you need right here. Keep it tuned, Spreaker.com, IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
See, I hate how my mind went dirty there.
We're going to have to make a super cut, by the way, of all the things Caitlin says during the break that y'all don't get to hear. We are back here in the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and I'm reminding you to check out www.iesportsradio.com. We worked very hard on that site. Get involved in the community. Find out more information about all your hosts. Listen to IE Sports Radio shows and more, all on
I thought you said hosts.
IESportsRadio.com. And I said hosts. I think I said hosts. But we are back.
Are we?
I think we are back, and we're going to get into the NASCAR segment. And before we get into the Cup race, we're going to go to the Xfinity race. I know the Xfinity races don't usually feature a lot on this show, but this one will because of an incident on the last lap involving Harrison Burton and Paul Menard. Those two are running for fifth in the latter stages of the Xfinity race on Saturday when Paul Menard just flat out wrecked Harrison Burton. And Paul Menard was upset by the way that Harrison Burton raced him earlier in the race, including the hit actually half a corner before Harrison got turned when Burton kind of leaned on Paul Menard just a little bit. Paul Menard is I don't want to call him a journeyman driver, but he has been around for a while. He's picked up one win in 2011, which was the Brickyard 400, much to the chagrin of many a Jeff Gordon fan. Shout out to Matthew Owens and myself. Meanwhile, Harrison Burton is an 18-year-old kid trying to make a name for himself in the Xfinity Series so he can make it to Cup. And it reminds me that over the past year, we've had a couple of the Cup Series regulars come down to the Xfinity Series and get upset about how they're run by the Xfinity Series guys. Now, am I missing something here? Is it a situation where the Cup guys are thinking the Xfinity guys should just move over for them, or are they just hypersensitive because the Xfinity drivers know there's a Cup driver there and they know they got to show off, so they're going to run them harder when they get a chance? Because this seems to be a theme developing.
To be honest with you, I feel like it should be expected to be ran harder because you are a Cup driver and, you sucked in Cup enough to be brought back down to Xfinity. So, of course, those guys are going to be like, oh, okay, here's a Cup guy. Let's try and beat him. To me, it would be expected.
Caitlin, what do you think?
I think that Cup drivers have this tendency to think that they're the equivalent to Greek gods when it comes to being down into the Xfinity Series. And they get really frustrated when you don't worship them and just get out of their way and bow down. And so when mere mortals think that they're Hercules against these gods, they just get upset.
I mean,
they truly, and I can, honestly, they act like they're just a whole new breed and they're better than everybody. There's reasons that when I worked on an Xfinity team that people were elated when we ended up racing somewhere that the Cup teams didn't, because we could just be regular cool people.
Well, case in point, look what happened last year at Darlington when Ross Chastain and Kevin Harvick got into it. I don't really see anything wrong with what Ross Chastain did that day, and then Kevin Harvick jumps out the car talking about that's why Ross Chastain will never amount to anything in this series, and now Ross Chastain is running for a truck championship and won in Daytona in Xfinity a couple of weeks ago, which I was there to witness. So it gets to a situation where this is where I put it with the Cup guys. If you don't want to be run hard by drivers that you think are lesser than you, y'all can always run on Sundays. You don't have to come down and run Xfinity in truck. You can just stay running on Sundays and let the kids, and I don't say kids to put them down. In a lot of cases, these literally are kids that are still in high school driving these race cars. You can let the kids make the name for themselves in truck and Xfinity, and you guys can continue to run in Cup and not have to worry about them until they get to Sundays. I mean, a lot of fans would enjoy that so they can actually see the truck regulars and especially the Cup regulars actually make names for themselves. But if you're going to come down and run in the lower series, you know what you're getting into, I think. So I don't understand what it is with the attitudes lately when they come down and do these races. What's
funny is, right, well, and two, what I think is kind of amusing is for all of his not greatest attributes. Like, I think it's funny that, like, 95% of the time, Kyle Busch doesn't act like that, even in the trucks. Usually he's too good that he's just dominating everything anyways, and so it doesn't really matter. But I just think it's funny when you have people like Paul Menard throwing a temper tantrum against another driver when people like Kyle Busch, who's a proven champion, doesn't have that issue. Like, Paul Menard, if he was full-time in the Xfinity Series, I don't even think could manage to win a freaking championship. Like, he's as middle of the road as it comes. Just like his personality. So, I just think it's funny that you have people like him who are, like, throwing a fit and doing all of these things. Like, it shouldn't even be brought to the attention of us. Whereas, again, you have people like Kyle Busch, who is a championship winner, who just comes in and races. And he always, he's so consistent, though. At least you know what you're going to get with Kyle Busch.
To be fair, Kyle has had some issues post-race, but it comes with someone that is as intense as a competitor as he is, even though I do not like seeing him run those. I don't like seeing the Cup guys in the lower series. I've mentioned this. I've talked about this at length now. If we're going to make the lower series about developing these guys to get to Cup, the Cup drivers should not be down there, is how I feel about it. But if they're going to be there, you got to know these kids are going to run you hard because they want to beat you so they can get your seat. That's the sad fact of it. And a lot of people really went after Paul Menard, I will say, on social media, bringing up that he's only there because of his last name, and we know that he's part of the Menards family, and that's sponsorship has been on his car and on the 12 of Ryan Blaney. And like I get that. And here's the thing, though, you're not gonna get any seat in this sport unless you have money. I was listening to Ray Ciccarelli on a show online. The show's put on by a couple of good friends of mine, Mike Donald and Mike Kirshner. And Ray was talking about just how much it costs just to do anything in the Cup Series. And I believe he said it was like $10,000 for your license in Cup. Like, just for your license. So, and the show's called On Track with Mike, hosted by Mike Kirshner and Mike Donald. And Ray was talking about, they were talking about the prices of everything. It costs $10,000 to just get licensed for the Cup Series. You are not going anywhere near there unless you've got some sort of money backing you up. So, yeah, did Menards, or not Menards, did Paul get there because of the Menards name? Yeah. But if you want your favorite guy that, oh, he's this great blue-collar guy, he doesn't have daddy's money, you want that guy to get to the Cup Series, toss him a couple of dollars, or find somebody that will. Because that guy will never make it out of the local short track without money. I'm sorry to say that.
Well, I mean, and you're absolutely right for the fact that who he wrecked was a Burton.
Mm-hmm.
And his daddy was a race car driver, so it's really no different.
Okay, you kind of answered my question, because I was like, is he related to Ward and Jeff Burton?
Yeah, he's Jeff's son, correct?
Yeah. I'm going to Google it. Dope. Y'all keep talking, I'm going to Google it just to make sure.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. Like I said, like I feel like it somehow has been forgotten that like the Xfinity Series is supposed to be for developmental drivers. Like I feel like somehow that's just been forgotten. Like the Truck Series is kind of in and of itself like its own thing. I don't know. Because it's an entire different entity. It really is.
The Trucks is kind of a mix. It's got its regulars, and then it's got its kids, or, the developmental guys trying to come up, but then it's got its regulars that just stay in the series and make full careers out of running the trucks. And that's why people say, oh, that guy only became a Truck Series driver. Don't say that. That's its own series in and of itself. And it's nothing, and it's not a bad thing to say someone was just a good truck driver, because it is hard to drive those trucks. But, yeah, you need to go back to my original point. If you want your favorite blue-collar darling to make it, You got to toss him some money or he's never going to make it. I'm sorry to say that. I don't know how we're going to get these costs down. I don't think we ever will, to be honest.
No, I don't think they're willing to make that kind of leap again, though.
So that's my whole feel on the Harrison Burton, Paul Menard situation. So let's get into the Cup race on Sunday. Hendrick.
Wait.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh wait, on Sunday. We got to talk about a tattoo at some point.
Oh yeah, we will talk about that before we go to break. So just remind me. But
I got you.
Sunday, we're going to work first with the Hendrick Motorsports team. They had a terrible weekend. Like we thought.
You know what's kind of funny about this, Darryl, with them having a terrible, like I feel like we really do prove our curse for the fact that literally last show we were talking about how much Hendricks has improved.
I said they were back. I was wrong.
Yeah. And then this happens. I just think it's kind of funny. We really are good at jinxing people.
Chase Elliott got into issues. He ended up finishing 29th. Jimmy Johnson finished 30th. He's now 17 points below the cut line, by the way. William Byron finished 12th. He was the highest finishing Hendrick Chevy on the day. And then Alex Bowman, good night, Alex. He finished 14th, but he's just lucky to be out of New Hampshire because he's going to qualify and the drive shaft falls out the car. Not sure how that happened. They bring the backup car out. He promptly wrecks that on Saturday practice. They have to go take Jimmy Johnson's backup car, doll it up to look like one of Alex's cars. They chuck him into that car. Thankfully, he doesn't wreck it, but he ends up finishing 14th. I thought Hendrick was back, and then they just got gut punched in the stomach. What do you guys make of this? And how do they recover going into this weekend?
I mean, you just gotta, lick your wounds and put on some bandages and try again. It's really the only thing you can do. And pray to God you have better notes for freaking Pocono.
Well, the thing with Pocono is even those notes might not even be relevant now that they put all the PJ1 down. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Michael, first, let's go to Alex Bowman. I don't think he's going to like New Hampshire anymore after the weekend he just had. How does he recover? Because he goes from winning his first race not too long ago to just everything that could go wrong did go wrong that day on Sunday.
I think the best thing for Bowman is kind of what Caitlin said, is just lick your wounds and try to get back together. And it's a process. Sometimes you're going to have your good days, and some days you're going to have your really bad days. It comes with being a racing driver. Some drivers, I think a lot of the champions can attest to this, but sometimes they have their championship seasons, and after that, they just have like a slump of just DNFs, failures, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it all just comes from licking your wounds and getting everything back together and just focusing on the next race rather than dwelling on it, because a lot of champions I know that I grew up with, they won a championship and then immediately had like their worst season. So it's all about mentality and not dwelling on what happened, but looking towards the future.
Let's talk about Jimmy Johnson now. He's currently sitting 17 points below the cut line. Did y'all ever think y'all would wake up one day and look at a point standing sheet for NASCAR that says Jimmy Johnson below the cut line?
No, but I think it was to be expected, because we do have these newer generation of drivers coming in, possibly faster. Whether or not they're faster is to be debatable. But we have these new drivers, new cars, new team. Well, I won't say new teams, but the resurgence of Haas. everything, it's to be expected that the wiser veteran drivers will sometimes be shuffled down the pack. It's just something that happens, and unfortunately, it was gonna happen to Jimmy. So, to me, it's not to be. It's to be expected, but it's definitely a shock to some people to see, a seven-time champ, just struggling like that.
Do you think he's going to make the playoffs, or is this going to be the first time in his career that coming in the final 10 races, he will not have a chance at the championship?
I think he can still get in there on points. Maybe he might. I don't know. Call me crazy, but he might even still be able to sneak a W. NASCAR racing, it's unpredictable sometimes. Well, unless you're in Formula One, but that's a different story. But racing NASCAR is different. You never know what could happen. The next race he might be leading, and then all of a sudden it rains, and then oh crap! Well, Jimmy Johnson the winner. You never know what's gonna happen. So it's best. I'm gonna say it's not over yet for him because he still is Jimmy Johnson. He still has what made him great. He still has Chad Canals. He still has.
He doesn't have Chad Canals anymore.
Oh, he did. Oh wow. Oh wow. We did talk about that last year.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
But anyway, he's still Jimmy Johnson. He's still a 7-time champ. So he might be able to wiggle his way into the points, or even wiggle his way into the win. But the best thing I think will happen is that he still gets in.
Well, he is coming to. Well, he is coming to a track where he's had good performances. Coming into this week, he's going to Pocono. Over his career, he's won there 3 times, 11 top 5s, 20 top 10s, and 3 times he's sat on the pole at the Tricky Triangle. But as I look at it, he hasn't had the speed the past couple of years that is going to tell me he's going to pull out of this tailspin. And if we are sitting here when the playoffs start and Jimmy Johnson is not a part of that, is that one of the signs that his career is coming to an end? Because as we know, Father Time is undefeated. And when he's ready for you to wrap it up, he is not subtle. And I think that's what's happened to Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, and I feel like part of it is like with Junior. He has even admitted that a part of it was getting into that car, that you have to be completely fearless. And that a part of his brain was still kind of on everything, especially after all of his concussions. And then with his family, and then his, being married and having a kid now. And I feel like a lot of that, in my opinion, I think is kind of starting to rub off on Jimmy. Is that, yes, he's this amazing race car driver, but his kids are getting older. And their daughters. And I feel like a part of it, I think, is kind of snagging his attention a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, he is coming into this age. And I mean, I kind of called this last year, though, especially when all of the gangs started breaking up, because it's not the trifecta anymore. It's not Chad Knaus, Lowe's, and Jimmy Johnson like it's always been. He's on this completely different new journey. But I just think it's a little too, it's just too late for it. And I kind of felt like that last year. Because honestly, last year when we found out Lowe's was going, I said that he was done. I was like, nah, it's the end. And in a way, it kind of should have been the end at this point. Like, I think what's weird is that, like, I was a big Rusty Wallace fan. But, like, when him and Mark Martin and even the Burtons, like, they were all so much older when they retired. But I just think, if you look at the starting end of everything, kids are starting much younger to be professional race car drivers. And so it's really starting to kind of turn the age gap a little bit. I mean, if you think about it, it's like that in football. It's like that in basketball. Like, they're all starting younger and retiring earlier now. And I just feel like it's getting that little bit of a lean-to with NASCAR as well. And I just think at some point you just, you got to call a spade a spade.
And it's weird because Dale Earnhardt Sr. was 49 and still getting it done until he passed away. Mark Martin was well into his 50s when he finally called it a career. But then you see Jeff Gordon, he only makes it to his early 40s when it was time for him to say goodbye. And Jimmy Johnson is in his mid-40s right now. And it's like all of a sudden he forgot how to drive a race car. And it's weird that he wins at Dover in 2017 and he hasn't been competitive since. And it's weird.
Yeah.
Because it just, you're like, okay, Jimmy's probably going to do it again in 2017. Oh, he doesn't. Oh, he'll be back next year. Wait, how long has it been since he's last won? Like, it is.
I kind of feel like the only.
we are.
Yeah, I think, and two, unless something really crazy happens, I don't see him making the playoffs this year unless he gets a win or races in on points that's going to involve another spin gate. Like, I do not see him getting in on his own accord. Like, I think there will be a heavily amount of assistance involved for him to get in.
Well, I hope they don't try a spin gate at Indy because that track is a lot faster than Richmond, and that could cause all sorts of issues.
But I mean, what about you, Darryl? Like, do you see him getting in on his own accord this year?
I don't see him making the playoffs. I said this year I said at the beginning of the season he wasn't going to make the playoffs. So I don't see him making the playoffs. I really don't.
I feel like at this point, maybe he's almost just like the dad coach to the kids at this point. Like, you're not going to do anything but be a good assistant.
Hmm.
Which is kind of sad to say about Jimmy Johnson. Like, I almost wish he would have retired last year. I feel like everybody would have had a little bit more respect for him. He's kind of turning into that guy you don't really want to talk about with your mouth open, so you kind of cover your hand a little bit.
Well, it's kind of like
talk about it.
Well, you're just kind of like watching the end of it. It's kind of like when Jeff Gordon. I'm a Jeff Gordon fan. It was painful watching those last few years of his career when he was running 20th every week. When I know there was a time when he won 13 races and got cars confiscated because him and Ray Evernham just kicking the crap out of everybody. Those last 7 years were tough. When you turned on the race and you knew Jeff was there was a possibility of him going a lap down. I was at Dover one time. When his career was winding down, he was, I think, running second at the time, had a tire issue, and finished the race a lap down. And that was a hard race to stay at. And when you're a fan of one of these legendary drivers, you don't expect it to go that way. Now, I did pick up in 2015 before he retired, and he had a chance to win the championship. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. But the hope for Jimmy Johnson fans right now is that he has that Jeff Gordon 2015 year where he gets enough of it together for one last run, and whatever happens, we get one more taste of the glory days before he hangs it up for good. I think that's what all Jimmy Johnson fans are hoping for right now. So this week, as we said at the top of the show, they're going off to Pocono. I'm going off to Pocono with them. Yes.
Before we get ahead of ourselves, before the preview, we need to talk about what's happening right now.
Right, we have to talk about a tattoo. On Twitter, Bubba Wallace posted that the King autographed his elbow and put up a challenge for 24 hours that if he get 43,000 shares, that he'd have the tattoo, or that he'd get the tattoo. Now, they were trying to get Richard Petty to also get a tattoo. That did not happen, but Richard is going to go to the tattoo parlor with Bubba to see this take place.
Because he did get enough retweets.
Yes, he did. 43.6 last time I saw it. 43.6 thousand last time I saw it. So Bubba will be getting this tattoo. I don't know if he'll have it by the open of business on Saturday. I will check and see. But I think
we don't know where he's getting the tattoo.
I think it's going to be just on the elbow.
No, because the one tweet, because what's his face? Hold on, I'm pulling it up right now just to make sure I get this right.
I never saw where they said the elbow.
Because Rutledge Wood said, I think that, I'm sure that they were talking about location, and he goes, I think it's dealer's choice, and you can have him sign anywhere you want, since that probably already washed off, right? And then get that inked. And then Baba goes, yes, correct. We'll not be getting it like it is in the pic.
Ah, okay. So I missed that. I missed that part of it, but that will be cool.
I just think it's funny it really happened. Like, I want to know, did he, like, not think that his nearly 200,000 followers would let him down?
I don't know why he thought that, but it shows just how popular Bubba Wallace still is right now. And that's why I hope they can get those cars running well. And by the way, while we're talking about popularity, tweet came across the interwebs today. They said that Hailie Deegan has like the #1 Instagram outside of the official NASCAR channel right now. And in terms of...
it's YouTube. Insta doesn't even count.
Yeah.
So she has the most, and it's only funny you said this because I saw it earlier, and I screenshot it for your conversation, and you brought it up. So in Instagram, Hailie Deegan has the most followers from NASCAR driver accounts at 452,000. Jimmy Johnson is second most with 431,000. And in YouTube, Hailie Deegan has 483,000 followers, and NASCAR only has 392,000 followers.
To be fair, the YouTube channel is the whole Deegan family, not just Hailie Deegan. So it's her dad.
How many of them are there?
Her dad and her brother.
Oh, it's like the Deegan bunch.
Yeah, her brother is now getting into motocross, and her dad pretty much helped create freestyle motocross. And on Insta, yeah, she is #1 when you exclude the NASCAR channel. Someone posted that, but actually the official numbers, but I would have to find it. But Caitlin just read it for you, so I don't have to find it. Hailie is extremely popular, and this is why I am so gung-ho on they need to take a measured approach in bringing her to the Cup Series. Because the minute she gets to Cup, if she gets to Cup too soon and struggles, they are going to turn on her. And they're going to turn on her hard. Because we know how this fan base can get. And I want to make sure that Hailie is brought up in the right way so that she gets as much experience as she can. Then the Cup cars, she can at least be competent the first couple of years and work towards winning races. She should not be anywhere near a truck for another couple of years, in my opinion. I think 2021 is when you start thinking about throwing her in the truck full time. But
let's wait until she can drink alcohol.
Yeah, but I don't want to see her getting rushed to Cup, because we've seen plenty of drivers get rushed up there. And
I think it's so easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
They just get excited, especially because she's having this much attention.
Yes. And since she has the attention, it's magnified. And we saw what happened when they rushed Danica along. Unfortunately, I was one of these that kind of turned on her when that happened. But I was out on Danica way before she even got to Cup. I don't want to see that happen to Hailie Deegan. I really don't, because I think she could be a really good driver. And I think she could be the driver that a lot of ladies, Caitlin included, would like to see in the Cup Series. Someone that could, actually be competitive, which I think she can be.
She's kind of a driver I would like to see. Mm-hmm. I mean, even outside of being a woman, I just think that even what she's doing with social media, she's figured it out. She's being her personality and being unapologetic for it, but it's a good personality. And she's just being smart about it. So even outside of being a girl, just as a driver, I feel like there's so much potential there.
There's a lot of potential for this, and I hope it goes well for her. I really do. I'm pulling for Hailie Deegan because I love Danica. I love what she did for women's racing. She was not competitive. And that is not a conversation that's up for debate. She was not competitive. And I think it kind of stunted the growth, or it stunted the popularity that she could have had. Because if Danica was actually winning races, she'd have been more popular than Junior, I think. If she had been able to pull that off. But it is what it is on that situation. I think Hailie has that ability to, be a great driver just on her own. So crossing our fingers, we hope it goes well, and maybe in a couple of years, we're still doing this show. We'll be talking about Haley Deegan with a championship here before too long. But we're going to take a break. No hot laps this week, as Matt White is currently immolating in the Great Britain summer right now. And Matt, if you're listening, sorry about your prime minister, and stay cool, my friend, because I know it is baking over there. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk about IndyCar and poor Marco Andretti. I will explain that on the other side of this break here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
From the home plate to the nets, the end zone to the finish line, here nothing is off limits and no sport is safe. Not what it seems with your host Caitlin Seam, bringing you sports like you've never heard before. Catch me Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, right here on IE Sports Radio. The only question is, are you ready?
Hi everybody, it's Calvin here from USRN, here to give you an important message. Since 2017, we have done our absolute best to provide you with nothing but the highest quality of sports calls in the greatest of quantity possible. Thanks to you, our station has grown more than we ever thought. That's why, with your help, we would like to grow even further. Just think, twice the amount of your favorite calls, 24 hours of coverage, talk shows, play-by-play, game-by-game analysis, and so much more. That's right, USRN2 is officially in development. But we can't do it alone. We have set up a GoFundMe page that you can access from our homepage on the left of your screen. We also are planning special giveaways and prizes to our highest donors. Our goal here at USRN is to bring you the best calls possible at no cost to you. In order to continue to do that, we need your help now. Please check out our GoFundMe page, and if you would like to know how you can help, you can email usrnradio@gmail.com. Without your support, we couldn't do what we do.
NBA, college basketball fans out there. Tired of hearing about just the dramatic stuff in the basketball world. Tired of hearing about what such and such wore tonight. And not about the game? Hey, leave all of that alone. Because on Wednesday nights, I got this show called Fast Break with Phil Jones here on the IE Sports Radio. And all we talk about is straight basketball, from where it comes down to the NBA, the NCAA, and even the WNBA. I don't discriminate. I give all my NBA, my basketball, whatever you want with sports, to the slam dunks, to the three-pointers, to the teardrops, to the game winners. I'm there. I'm speaking about it. I have a debate. I have my panel. I got a squad that rolls in. And we're going to be talking mad sports. We're going to be talking about the Lakers. We're going to be talking about even the Brooklyn Nets. We're going to be talking about who's the top team out there in the NBA. So, tired all the drama. Tired all the heat wear today.
what kind of shoes he had. Forget all that. Just come over. Listen to Fast Break with Phil Jones here on IE Sports Radio every Wednesday night, 8 Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, y'all. So, yo, tune in.
Hey, what's up, sports fans? You're looking for a different type of sports talk show, something you haven't heard before. You got to check out the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday on 2 Live Stews Radio, 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Sports talk at its finest. Always have great guests, playing some good hip-hop. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in to the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern.
We're back here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. It is time to talk IndyCar, NTT Data, IndyCar Series racing here on the program. They were in Iowa for the Iowa 300, and guys, I'm actually surprised we didn't get any mention of corn in the Gentlemen Start Your Engines this week.
It's because they were too concerned with lightning.
Yeah. We just got to get this race done.
Go fast. And nobody could see the corn at, 1 a.m.
Yeah.
The funny thing about this race, too, was, so I haven't been able to sit down and watch an IndyCar race in a few weeks. Mm-hmm. And so, I saw it pop up on my calendar. I'm like, oh, yeah, the IndyCar race is tonight. And I'd gotten to that sweet spot where it would have been after, all the talk into it. And I was like, oh, can we watch it? So we go to put it on. And, of course, didn't realize that there was the delay until I saw that. I went on Twitter, and I'm like, oh, that would do it. And then I fell asleep waiting for the race to start, and then just went to bed and missed the entire race anyways. So there's no winning. Apparently, I just need to stop watching races, because when I do, bad things happen.
I got home, watched a lap or two, and then went straight to sleep. So I'd just gotten back from covering Hagerstown Speedway. I actually watched a little bit of it on Monday. It was actually my background noise while I was doing my notes for Pocono. And it seemed, from what I watched and saw and listened to, it was a good race. IndyCar's put on a really good show at Iowa, especially now they're back under the lights, and it was even better that this race was fully under the lights, because Saturday's heat was brutal.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
I was out. I didn't even do our usual pit walk at Hagerstown, because if I had done it, I would have died of heat stroke. So we just stayed upstairs. Well, I went into the pits, but I didn't do the real walk around. I actually visited with some of the teams, soaked up as much air conditioning as I could, then went upstairs to watch hot laps because it was too hot to actually stay out there and do anything, because it was absolutely burning up. But once the sun got down, the temperatures went down out there, and they put on a really good race. Unless you were a part of the Andretti Autosports crew, as they had a bad day on Saturday, which is ironic because we just talked about Hendrick Motorsports having a bad day. And then Andretti Autosports had a bad day with two of their top drivers. Well, one of their top drivers and the other one being Marco Andretti. We will start with Rossi came in 4 points back, and we're thinking we're just going to get this great fight between Newgarden and Rossi, the two Americans going at it. And at one point, Rossi ends up getting lapped. Now, he ends up finishing on the lead lap, 6th, but 12 points back. He was never really a challenge for Joseph Newgarden, who led 245 of the 300 laps on Saturday night. It was Newgarden's playground in Iowa, and he ended up getting a 29-point advantage from this. So it was not a good weekend for Alexander Rossi from that perspective. He did recover for a top 10, but now his margin of error just got a lot smaller.
Yeah, didn't Newgarden's win put 4 points in between the two of them for the championship? So I kind of love this because we've been talking about this like uber rivalry between the two, and it's been happening, but I feel like this is where we're really seeing their like coming of age. Like the gloves are really going to come off. Like this is the rivalry of our generation that's coming. I think it will be. It's starting to look like it, at least.
It's beautiful and it's glorious. And I feel like we're going to see a very super sassy Rossi. Because
I like
last
sassy
time
Rossi,
he almost, I know.
Sassy Rossi is the
Scary
best
and I like
Rossi.
it. Yeah.
It's that Italian fury.
When Alexander Rossi
real fast.
gets an attitude, he is unstoppable. So I cannot wait to see how he recovers from this weekend in Mid-Ohio. Well, I'll have to tape it because I'll be busy. But
Sassy Rossi. I like how that goes.
Sassy Rossi is the best Rossi. And you guys are right. This rivalry has the recipe to be the next great open wheel rival. It really has the...
Can it just be already?
Yeah, it can be the next big... It probably is right now the next big IndyCar face-off between two American drivers that a lot of people in the sport believe we need for it to grow in America. Well, we've got the two guys. They're both competitive. They're both in the top teams. Let's see what they do. And I think it would help if Rossi is able to sneak this championship, because now it's on from there.
I mean, yeah, obviously. It makes it exciting, too. Like, I wish I know we've already beat the horse a million times on the whole F1 thing, but this is what F1's missing. Haha, are we doing Weird Al tonight? Is this where we're going? Is that where you want to go, Caitlin?
I don't know what you're talking about.
That would be Just Eat It, but that is...
No, I know, but I'm just saying making a parody of it by adding, yeah. Anyways, continuing. But I mean, this is what they're missing. Like they're like, we've built it up that, ooh, it's going to be Vettel and Hamilton, and
then nothing happens from that.
Yeah, and nothing happens. So it's just this is what. If you think about some of the most exciting times in racing, you know, what comes to mind? Usually a rivalry. And this is kind of where that comes in, and which makes it even more ironic that silly season is getting all based upon Alexander Rossi right now. And there's been rumors that he's going to go to Penske, and it's like, no. Like, first of all, I feel like the rivalry won't be as fun
It won't.
if he was there, but I also don't see him ever leaving Honda, so I'm just not seeing it.
It wouldn't be
But
as
I like
fun if
that
they're on the
part,
same
though.
Of them being on the same team?
No, of them not being on the same
Right.
team.
No.
I don't
Oh,
want
yeah,
them
yeah,
to be
we're
on the
all in
same
agreement.
I don't want him either.
team. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I don't know, H2O.
Chevy, your baby angel that you love, compared to Rossi's kind of got this, like, bad boy darkness thing going for him. I don't know. It's kind of, you know, night versus day kind of thing. Like,
yeah,
it's just, they complement each other.
The rivalry thing only really works as far as in Indy cars if they're on different teams, because it's not like in Formula One where the two teammates are trying to kill each other. Shout out to Hamilton and Rossi from a few years ago, and shout out to Force India last year, basically.
Pretty much.
When they're on the same team, it's going to be more of a buddy-buddy type thing, and I think the rivalry would lose a little bit of its edge. So for as much as possible, they need to stay on different teams. Now, on the other side of
the team orders aren't going to ruin it like they have for a lot of the other, at least it's not as much of a problem in IndyCar, but I feel like it would still play a part.
Yeah. And we were talking earlier in the NASCAR segment about Father Time catching up to people. Well, I think Father Time caught up to this guy a long time ago, but Marco Andretti he didn't have a good day. He got black flagged a couple of times for not meeting minimum speed. He ends up finishing 21st. He ends up only completing 205 of the 300 laps. And I think this is just the new basement for how bad things can get for Marco Andretti. And we were talking about it earlier. We're surprised he didn't get the black flag at Indy, but he did get the black flag this time. It was just not a race for him to write home about, but that just seems to be Marco Andretti's MO here the last, I don't even want to say season. It's been longer than that.
Decade.
Yeah, that'll fit. In the last decade.
And I hate saying that because, I am definitely an Andretti fan. I grew up, the first driver, like my hero.
I'm a huge Andretti fan.
And, Marco is, I think I'm a little older than him. Isn't he? He's our age, isn't he, Caitlin? He's really close. I think we're a few months older than him.
Marco's 32.
So he's 32. Okay, so helps. We're a little younger than him. But still, the point being, it's funny that you're like, Father Time has caught up with him. And I'm like, dude, he's my age. Pump in the brakes here. Come on.
Father Time in terms of racing ability.
Competitiveness.
Yeah.
March 13th,
that Father
1987.
Time.
Okay. So, yeah. All right. So I'm 10 months younger than him or something like that. Good math. Anyways, the point being, he just never had that same edge that his grandpa had. And even Michael was kind of back and forth on how he did on things. It just, I don't know. I feel has it been worth it for him to be in it for this long and not really made any progress? What do you do from here? Do you work for Dad's team? Do you make your own team? Do you have the money to make your own team?
Do you go race in another series maybe and try to make something of this? I don't know what you do.
Start a Twitter account they have a Twitter account that started that's did Marco win? And literally the only time it said yes, it was for the Butterball Challenge that they had last season. He won the best burger. That's probably the only thing he's won in the last decade in IndyCar. There we go. Marco, you need to open a restaurant. Clearly you did something right.
He did something right there, but...
But we should have a where will Marco be next? And
but can we just
what's his next career?
Can we just appreciate how truly millennial he is then, for the fact that us 30-somethings are still struggling with literally the same thing? You try so hard to win at life and you just lose.
I was literally just tweeting with one of my friends and old college roommates about this today because she was saying something about just going to these jobs just so we can get by. And it's you've reached your dream job when you're excited about the chaos that you're about to get into. You're pumped about it because, it's your job. That's your life. And I said something well, isn't that just what it is being in our 30s now? It's just being depressed and disappointed about our careers and life choices. But yeah, it's literally, I think that's just been millennial 30s in a nutshell is like, we just can't catch a break.
Literally.
No, we cannot.
Yeah. You gotta keep hustling.
So maybe that's why we appreciate Marco so much.
Well,
because he embodies
struggle
it
a lot.
at the professional level. He is the struggle. Yes, he has more money than we do, but he literally is doing his best. He is doing his best at the thing he loves. He's doing his best, and it's just not enough.
In the end, it doesn't even matter. That's copyrighted. Let me not do that.
Yeah, that definitely came on the thing I was playing today, by the way.
Well, we can move along from this existential crisis we're all now suddenly having.
We're all going to go sob in the corner of the shower now after this episode.
As we now ponder the inevitability of
with or
death.
without shower beers. we'll leave it up to you.
Well, this week will be the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio. And when you come to this track, you think Scott Dixon, because he's got 14 starts and he's won here 5 times. Had 6 top 3 finishes and 10 in the top 5. Scott really likes this place. And we know that when he is on, or even when he's down, he's able to figure out a way to come back. We saw it at Iowa where he was a lap down at one point, legitimately came back to finish second. He pulls off a win here, and it's game on for him in the championship again, and we could be looking at a 3-horse race going into the end of the season.
Yeah, yes. I'm kind of just banking on Rossi and Newgarden. Rossi's got enough angst and frustration from basically being the next Dixon, where it was just constantly on the podium, like the bridesmaid, but never the bride. So he's got this fiery thing, and then Newgarden is, I don't know, I guess now he's the weakest link because he still hasn't won the Indy 500, so.
Which is funny that's how he's considered the weakest link.
I know, right?
He's a championship holder.
Let's see.
Right.
What of these things is not like the other? They've all won championships, but wait, no, one is not an Indy 500 champion.
I feel like him being the best looking at Penske makes a difference, though.
Yes.
I always like Pagano a little more, but I like darker.
What?
I like darker haired guys.
That nose, though.
I'm Italian. That doesn't faze me.
I feel like we've gone far away from racing at this point because I interpreted the first comment a lot different than it actually was meant, apparently.
I didn't say anything about shoe size.
No, I heard best driver at... I heard best driver at Penske. I didn't know she had said something about best looking. I wasn't listening, unfortunately.
What did you think I said?
I thought you just said best driver. I didn't know you would realize I were talking about best looking drivers.
Well, because we were trying to define
what led into that. Yeah, the weakest link at Penske, which is currently Newgarden being
because he hasn't been a 500 winner.
500.
Okay.
And I was arguing that he is the better looking of the Penske drivers. In total.
I like Pagano more, but
that's what that wheel into.
Yeah. It was kind of valid in Caitlin Alina fashion.
I mean,
it's bad when we've rendered him speechless and he can't even think of anything to interrupt us at this point.
Because at this point, I'm just used to it, and whatever fills the time sometimes, even when it's you guys being silly. But I like it, and I like this show, and I like being on here with you guys. So I've been having a lot of fun. I honestly feel like if Scott Dixon, though, does dominate, that it's game on again, and he's pretty far back, unfortunately. He's got 389 points to his name. He's currently 4th. He could start inching his way back up there, but it's going to take issues for the 3 in front of him. And the way IndyCar can go, anything can really happen this coming weekend. So it'll be exciting at Mid-Ohio. Cannot wait to get to it. But it's almost time to wave the checkered flag, so we need to start making some picks this weekend. We'll start with IndyCar for Nearest the Win. Remember, if you want to play Nearest the Win, hashtag Nearest the Win and your winners for this weekend. Let's start with Mid-Ohio IndyCar. I'm going to take the guy that's won 5 times. I'm going to take Scott Dixon.
I have to think about this.
For Ohio, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to do Newgarden. Since I already picked Rossi last week, and that didn't go so well.
I almost picked Rossi, and Matt saved me because I'd already picked him before.
I'm going to go with
You kind of
Rossi
saved
then.
yourself.
Yeah.
Oh.
Who are you going to go with?
Because Rossi.
Okay.
Why do you say it's so sad?
Because I was trying to, because I'm concerned about jinxing drivers these days. Like I didn't pick Newgarden and then he won, even though I was thinking about Newgarden, and then now I'm kind of like, but Rossi kind of needs to win, so he's back into the fight, even though Newgarden's my baby. So, but I don't want to double jinx.
What happens
Newgarden.
is that no matter what we pick, we screw somebody over.
You're
so
right,
I mean,
and not in the fun way.
Really?
I'm gonna go Rossi.
Nice sidetrack there.
And his back to back.
Michael, who you got?
He won last year. I tried to skirt my own way.
Okay.
Back around.
Michael's going Newgarden, by the way. Okay, let's go. Formula One, Germany. I guess everybody that didn't pick Hamilton last time is going to take him this time.
Right.
I can't pick him. I picked him last time.
I think I have Bottas then this time. I can't remember who I picked the last time.
No, there weren't that many people who picked.
No, yeah. Or wait, did Hamilton win the last one?
Hamilton won the British GP. And I think I got the points
I think maybe I
off
had Bottas because I don't think I got points that weekend. So maybe I get to pick Hamilton this week. Matt'll tell me. Thanks, Matt.
If I can't take... I'm pretty sure I took Hamilton at the British GP. If I didn't, I'll take Hamilton. If not, I'll take Leclerc.
I mean, that's the other depressing choice that probably won't do anything, but you just go for a wild card and pick, Antonio Giovinazzi just for shit. If you know what, you can't pick Hamilton that week, just pick who's going to be the worst.
Yeah,
just for fun.
But I also want to try to, score points just in case something happens.
Here. Oh, wait. No, never mind. I was trying to be smart about it, and it didn't work. Ignore me. Good grief, Caitlin.
I'm scrolling all the way back to last week to see who actually
That's what I was
picked him.
trying to do, and then I forgot that, we didn't have fracking Formula One last weekend.
Okay, so
we have to go back 2 weeks, and, that takes work.
that was July 14th, right? The last one.
Well, I was in New York.
Yeah, so the drivers, everyone who picked Hamilton was Matt Owens, Larry B, Caitlin, and Michael.
All right, Hamilton.
So I'm also going to take
Lock and
Hamilton.
load.
So Caitlin and Michael have to pick new drivers.
See, this is why we have the 2 races in a row. You can't do it next to each other because you could literally in F1 just pick Hamilton the entire season.
Yeah, and everyone would have been guaranteed 2 points. That's why we changed the rule. Also, Michael's the reason we have this rule, which I like to call the Martin Truex Jr. rule.
Look, it's not my fault he decided to dominate.
You know
But
what
you
you
can't really
did.
Well,
say.
it was kind of insane.
I'm going to pick Verstappen because they're having heat issues again in Germany. And last time heat was an issue, Mercedes was crap.
And Hamilton whined a lot.
So I'm going to go ahead and pick Verstappen.
Maximilian Verstappen.
Maximilian.
Yes.
She's not wrong. Michael, who are you going to
She's
take?
got a good.
Which your
I'm
pick for
gonna
Leclerc
go-
would be a close one for the fact that they were the meme.
You know what, Caitlin? I'm gonna take you up on that offer. I'm going with Leclerc.
Boosh. Let's go. Let's rock and roll.
Well, as far as the temperatures are going to be for the German Grand Prix, the race is actually going to be 24 degrees Celsius, which for Americans...
Brr.
For Americans,
Americans.
that is 75 degrees. Friday, however,
Wait,
it's
they're
going to be
Michigan
like
temperature.
fracking 75.
yeah, it's going to be
That's Michigan
90
temps right
degrees.
now.
I was about to say,
Friday.
like, that's
Beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's been pretty nice this
Not
week.
gonna, yeah, like yesterday. I kid you not. Yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, because I had to run to the store and I looked at my thing and it was like temperature 83. I was like, I can wear a sweatshirt, and I like wore a sweatshirt to the grocery store at
However,
83.
it is
Like,
going
it was a little
to be,
too warm, but I was.
That's
I
me
didn't
all
care.
summer going into
I just
grocery
love wearing
stores.
sweatshirts.
I don't know how
great.
y'all
You know, you're
wear
a Michigan
sweatshirts in the
girl
summer.
when?
But anyway, it's
Yeah.
going to be 100 degrees on Friday, so
Oh shit.
yeah,
Okay.
it's going to be hot
Okay.
there. But it is
that
a
is
60,
hot.
It is a 69% chance of rain on Sunday for the German
69.
Grand Prix.
I mumbled nice under my breath.
So we
You're
got
all
one
so
more
mature.
series, and that is NASCAR at
Maybe that's our
Pocono.
one problem.
And
Like
I'm
16-year-old boys.
going to actually take Chase Elliott because he is actually the leader in average running position
At Pocono.
at Pocono, and he's actually second in driver rating at Pocono behind Denny Hamlin. So I'm going to take Chase to win on Sunday.
Huh. Who do I want to take for Pocono?
Pocono.
I was thinking Keselowski myself. But you guys know I'm so random on my picks, so there's really no strategy.
You say random, but you pick Keselowski quite often. Is it
Well-
because he's from Michigan?
A little bit, yeah. Gotta cheer for my homeboy. Why not?
Nothing wrong with a little horse face. I said that out loud, didn't I?
That got
Yes.
that was immediately harsh. Wow. Just right to it. That is not very Midwestern of you.
So
I'm not always nice,
Leah,
okay?
are you-
Sometimes I have to be not nice.
Rawr.
Who did I pick last week? I don't remember, but I got a point, didn't I? Bush?
Ugh.
I think you picked. I don't remember who you picked. 'Cause I picked Kyle Busch and didn't score. So
Oh, who did I pick? I don't remember.
we need to start writing these down.
Or having better
really
memory. One of the two.
Love it both.
Could be a decent option. Hold on. I gotta scroll back through. Here we are. NASCAR, Truex. I got a point. Okay. So I can't pick Truex. So I'm going to go with Kyle Busch.
Ew.
Michael, who you got?
He's won 3
I'm
of the
gonna
last
go-
4 races
Gonna go.
Yeah.
at Pocono.
Bowman. Actually, no, I'll go Chase Elliott.
And I'm only a point ahead of Larry right now, so I got to stretch this lead a little bit more.
I got to start making points. So
I'm hanging on to the mid,
Make
like,
points, not war.
like the Renault team does in F1. Just kind of chilling in between.
Hey, you're
Not
not
really
last
doing great,
anymore.
but not losing.
That's a lot. You've come a long way, Lita.
Well, thank you. I'm not at the bottom anymore.
You are solidly in the middle.
I know. Middle of the pack.
Keeping
So-
it real.
Not about as good as Renault.
So
Boom.
that'll
Yeah.
do it for this
Boosh.
episode of The Extra Mile. Remember, if you want to check out Lita's writings, check out gpgirl.com. Check out Caitlin's show that comes on right before this one, Not What It Seems, at 5 p.m. here on IE Sports Radio. And as well, check out my writings on WBGRnetwork.com. We're going to be absolutely inundated with Pocono race weekend coverage. So you want to check that out. And our Twitter, which is WBGR Sports on Twitter. As well, check out IE Sports Radio social media pages on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And remember, if you missed any episode, of any IE Sports Radio show, you can listen to it on the Spreaker Show Reel, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, the Spreaker Show Reel itself, and now YouTube as well as the new www.iesportsradio.com. So check it out over there as well. So with that being said, also before we go, check out the grid rating, Matt White's own personal ratings of every driver in every racing series. You can check that out on @GridRating on Twitter. And with that being said, it is time to say goodnight. So for Lita, Caitlin, and Michael, my name is Darryl Kinsey Jr. This has been The Extra Mile, and we will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody. Yeah, was not a good night. Oh, wait, not muted yet.